everyone, welcome back to another podcast of No Code Work. I am Jyoti, and today we are diving into the world where AI, no code, and entrepreneurship collide with two incredible guests from Singular Innovation, a company redefining how startups and SMBs build products faster and smarter. So we have with us Sebastian Rohrmann, CEO and founder of Singular Innovation, and joining him is Charlie Rohrmann, CCO and partner of Singular Innovation. Welcome to the show, guys, and thank you for joining us. How you guys are feeling?
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you so much for having us. It's a fascinating topic to discuss, and we're honored to be here.
Yeah, we're pretty excited to be able to have this discussion and to make the best out of this 30 minutes, okay?
Yeah, great. So Sebastian, we'll start with you. Can you start by telling our audience a little bit about Singular Innovation, how it started, and what inspired the idea behind it?
Thank you. Jyoti, I started my career in Washington, D.C., and I worked at a very, very big bank and enterprise. And it was very, very quickly to see how that corporation or bank was extremely slow, but at the same time, so powerful. It was a titan that you had to understand. At the same time, I decided that titan was very, very slow to move and change directions. But once it started with momentum, it was very, very difficult to stop. I decided to move away and I started this company so that we could focus on how do we give SMBs and startups a competitive advantage by using technology. And in that time, I had made my thesis around AI in the University of Indiana, and it was a thesis based on what the next 15 years look like. And I think that everything that during that time we hypothesized, we've been able to overcome. Not at the pace of Skynet and Terminator and apocalyptic world events, which I'm pretty sure isn't going to happen. But we decided, how can we help SMBs and startups? And we've been working, and we've had the luck and the pleasure of working with companies as big as Disney, Lego, but even with fast-moving startups like Osmo that are growing very, very much. And the premise has always been, how do we give that competitive advantage?
That's great. And that was quite a journey, I feel, Sebastian. Coming to Charlie. Charlie, you are the CCO here. What it looks like to be a CCO? What kind of areas do you oversee in the company?
Yeah, so for me, I'm fascinated by my job, right? Because I feel a lot of passion to talk to SMBs, right? To people who have real world problems, right? And how are we able to, well, a couple of years we started with no code, right? And right now we're implementing AI. And the idea is, how are we able to find the business case that we're able to start implementing, right? And from there, we have an amazing and long-term relationship, right? And for me, it is a blessing to have conversations each day to see how are we able to find opportunities for these tools to be able to help the real world business, okay?
And Charlie, you come from a sales and marketing background, right?
Yes, I have been in sales a long time. And this has meant that we have helped people with their productivities, right? And also help people achieve their dreams in the case of startups.
So how do you leverage it in your current company? How do you, how does it work with you coming from that background? So how do you leverage it?
Yeah, so I think it's asking the right questions, right? I think it's hearing clients out, right? And not try to box them in. We know that there are so many tools out there, right? The idea is to specialize in a certain few. And the idea is to, as per every business opportunity, right, to be able to connect it with the best tools, right? And the idea is that when you get started, these tools can get really scalable really fast, right? And I think that we are able to optimize on ways on how we're able to get to market, right? And AI right now is transforming how companies create value, right? And that's what we're focusing on.
Okay, that's great. Now, since we have learned a little bit about your company and yourself, let's dive into the real questions now. Sebastian, what is your take on no-code platforms? Do you think they're empowering more people to build, or do they have certain limitations?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jyoti. And it's a topic that I'd love to discuss. So if you think about it, the basic premise or the promise of no code is that code at the end of the day is a language.
Yeah.
And every time you want to say something, you need a translator, which is a coder. And here I'm talking about citizen developers. But these citizen developers are the people that are closest to the business, closer to the customer problem, and they already have a picture of their mind of what they want to build. Now, if you think about velocity or agility, every time that you go to one of these coders and say, hey, I want to build this out,
Yeah.
there is a very, very basic part of that, which are visual flows, forms, etc. And that is not within the realm of something that's very complex. Now, I believe that coders will still be necessary in the years to come because that complex layer of making it scalable, secure, etc., that's always going to be there. But making sure that a form follows a flow that lives in the mind of the entrepreneur or the business champion, that's something that's quite unnecessary. Now, in the current spectrum of full stack development, at least, you would ask a developer, hey, I need you to do this, this, and that. And he would apply that. But obviously, you need to wait a lot of days because there is probably a lead time. What no code allows you to do is to break that cycle by shortening the time it takes for a person to say, this is what I want, and get a visual prototype that can even be working. Now, we have three different types of generation tools. There is full stack, which is going to still be completely necessary. You have no-code tools such as Flow, which is our in favorite visual platform so that non-citizen developers can develop. But there is a new type of platform which we work very, very closely with our partner Vistel, which you can just use natural language to ask an AI to create a very, very powerful prototype. Now, these prototypes, most of the time, are not ready to be scaled or to be secure completely and need to be integrated into deep data sources. And that's where developers come in. But I think that this new paradigm shift helps developers so that they can focus on more complex interactions, while the business champion and the founder can focus on bringing their visual ideas to life with a very, very beautiful degree of functionality. So I'm completely excited about that. And that's where we help our customers. How do we accelerate that agility and not lose time?
Okay, so Sebastian, the 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 question and the answer you gave revolves around, what no code can do. In certain terms, it can, help you create faster applications, and with now AI and tools like Lovable, which can, give you the access of writing in just layman terms and giving you generating a website. But my question to you and Charlie, do you think these websites are worth it? Have you seen the back end of these websites? I have talked to a lot of founders, right? And when you give a prompt and what the website has been created, okay, outside it's good, but the back end is really poor. What's your take on that?
Okay, that's a great question, Jyoti. First, we need to understand that full stack development is always going to be necessary because the integration in a secure and scalable way into overarching systems, that's always going to be there. But there is a huge space where platforms such as Lovable or Vercel, our favorite is Vercel, by the way, have a very, very strong position. Now, they are growing at an exponential rate, and the code quality that they will export will very, very soon be at the same standard of a senior developer or even better. But as of right now, you're right. The code is a bit of a spaghetti code, and it does take time for a developer who is full stack to bring in the code, make sure it's up to standard, and make sure it integrates correctly and securely. But at the same time, the trade-off that we need to decide is it worth it to create something in Lovable or Vercel if it's
Yeah.
just gonna bring out fuzzy code? And we definitely believe that the answer is yes, because what this does is that it liberates founders and business champions from being able to imagine and create something that provides a clear reference for the rest of the team to grab that football and get it over the line in a touchdown, which is making it scalable. We firmly believe that it's still worth it, but it's only going to get better.
Okay. I see your point here because obviously it's very cheap to have an MVP launched with tools like that, which leverages AI. Charlie, you coming from sales background, do you see the websites built on these platforms have any future? Can those be scalable? Not if not now, not today, maybe in future.
So that's a great question, right? And I'm going to hop in on what Sebastian said, right? I think that right
Yeah,
now, my job in business consultation, right, is to set the right expectations, right? By setting the right expectations, well, there were a lot of people that are trying to compete, let's say, with Uber, with an application out of the box and that's when it becomes really hard, right? So trying to prompt and to compete with these companies who are spending millions of dollars month to month, right? So basically, I believe that it will get to that point. I think we're not at that point right now. I think that we're able to get into a really validated process and to learn from the user so that we're able to release a 2.0, 3.0 version whenever we're able to release. But to be able to learn from what the user wants, either it be an internal application or a client-facing application, the value is such immense to be able to validate if the idea is a good idea or if it's a bad idea and how are we able to pivot, okay? So basically for us in Singular, right, and no code does not mean no logic, right? And for us, those business processes that we're able to map out are critical for this, right? So it definitely has a great place in the business world and also in the startup world, these tools such as VO, Vercel, and Lovable, okay?
yeah. Okay, since we are
And
talking about no code, yeah, sorry, Sebastian, go on, please.
no, just to piggyback on something Charlie said, is that I
Mhm.
think that there is the paradigm shift. The ideation part of any software development process or any business process that you're trying to improve, the ideation process is really important. And when you think of AI has two basic premises. It can either summarize a large amount of data in a very efficient way, or it
Yeah,
can generate content, right?
yeah.
We believe in the summarization part quite a lot because one of the things that we do with our business customers,
Mhm.
and the first thing we do is that we recommend the tools such as Read AI, Otter, or a transcription service. And we say, put this into your calls. And afterwards, we can ask whatever database that you have in a private and authorized manner with the client, and we can find a lot of problems that need to be fixed. Once you do that, you're able to prioritize and say, these are the things that we should be tackling, and you can ideate extremely quickly to create MVPs. That time has gone down. Now, if you're able to do that very quickly, then that becomes the new competitive advantage, which is agility. AI enables you to do it, both to understand and diagnose where the problems are, but to quickly create solutions. And that's a very interesting time because this creates that scenario where the big corporations, such as the bank I used to work in, are the Goliaths of the world. But now any SMB can become that David and has a very powerful stone that is obviously empowered by AI. Okay, that's a great question, Jyoti. First, we need to understand that full stack development is always going to be necessary because the integration in a secure and scalable way into overarching systems, that's always going to be there. But there is a huge space where platforms such as Lovable or Vercel, our favorite is Vercel, by the way, have a very strong position. Now, they are growing at an exponential rate, and the code quality that they will export will very soon be at the same standard of a senior developer or even better. But as of right now, you're right. The code is a bit of a spaghetti code, and it does take time for a developer who is full stack to bring in the code, make sure it's up to standard, and make sure it integrates correctly and securely. But at the same time, the trade-off that we need to decide is it worth it to create something in Lovable or Vercel if it's
Yeah,
just gonna bring out fuzzy code? And we definitely believe that the answer is yes, because what this does is that it liberates founders and business champions from being able to imagine and create something that provides a clear reference for the rest of the team to grab that football and get it over the line in a touchdown, which is making it scalable. We firmly believe that it's still worth it, but it's only going to get better. And unfortunately, the experience has gotten a lot worse. It used to be visually very powerful and simple to be able to say, okay, you want to do 5 coffees using a French press, this is what you need to do. The inputs were very few, and there is no need for AI there. But there are other applications, especially when it comes to data entry or data analysis, that desperately need AI. We're now getting to the point where people are using their voice, are using all types of spreadsheet, which we call omnimodal capabilities, to be able to ask a system to do something. That is the new paradigm shift, because asking people, this is the only way that you can fill in information. In 2026, we'll make sure that those applications are extinct. You need to make sure that if a user wants to log what they did during the day and log a timesheet, they're able to do it with pictures, with video, integrating with calendar, voice integration where a user can just talk to an agent and say, this is what I did today. And the agent will ask clarifying questions. And those applications will benefit tremendously, because if you're able to reduce the time it takes to do data entry, but at the same time increase the level of quality of the information being received, that becomes a gold mine for SMBs of data that they can basically ask with an agent as well, so that they can start to diagnose their business better. So again, this AI should not be placed everywhere, but where it is placed, there is a huge opportunity.
I couldn't agree more because it has we have as an owner, as a product owner, you need to evaluate, does your product need an AI or not? You should not integrate it because of everyone is doing it. Maybe your product is not like that, and you are just going to complicate because you gave an example, which as a user, you don't like the user experience anymore. You liked it better before the AI was integrated. So I think this is something that founders need to learn in and not just jump into the first opportunity. They need to evaluate their products, that does AI fit into it and how they can reduce timing or help users. Um, Going back to Charlie, we see AI launches I go to sleep, I wake up, a new AI version is being launched. OpenAI 2.5, Gemini, Gemini Pro, Nano Banana, Replit, Claude, etc., etc., etc. As I said, I go to sleep, I wake up, and there is a new AI launched. Do you think there will be an AI fatigue coming into the world where, people will not even care what next AI is coming?
Well, I think it's a great
Charlie,
question. Oh, go ahead,
can
Sebastian.
can I jump in? Sorry. I
Yeah.
think that's a fascinating question. And I do think that AI fatigue will start to set in, for sure. So we've all seen that news that a famous consulting company that charges hundreds of thousands of dollars used AI to create a report. The report was filled with hallucinations, fallacies, factual errors. And we've seen the same thing happen in the law dimension, where a lawyer
Yeah.
basically used AI and didn't do anything. And there is also a dynamic that's happening, that I will get an email that's very formal, very well sent, and it has 4 paragraphs around 500 words, just to ballpark something. And what I'll immediately do is that I'll grab AI and ask it to summarize it for me. But the interesting thing was that the person that sent that email just gave him a little summary. It bloated up an email. I reduced it again. So if you think about it, that middle part of that process, it's unnecessary. And people will start to appreciate, please don't send me an AI bloat or slop. Just send me the information in the most effective manner. Now, AI will surely adapt to that. But at the same time, I think that people, and this is something that's very important, when you create a presentation or a slide deck, every word that you write down is yours. And that helps you out so that when you're delivering that pitch, every word resonates with you. Now, a lot of people are creating presentations with AI, and you can immediately tell when they don't even know what's up on the screen or what's up on the slide. Like it was a presentation going back to high school. I think that people will start to understand where AI needs to be used, where it gives an advantage, and where it makes you feel like a phone and where it makes you feel unauthentic. When that starts to happen, people will start demand more natural interactions. And if you see social media right now, a lot of people are calling out from the rooftops. There should be a filter to filter out any AI slop generated content. I want authentic human content. So I think that the AI fatigue is already starting to set in, both in business, both in the personal aspect and in social media. And this is a very, very exciting time because now AI is changing from that shiny new toy to something that has to be used for specific circumstances within a business etiquette. And that's something that's very important for SMBs and founders to understand.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think SMBs are focused a lot on the outcome, right? And I think companies like Singular were there to help clients navigate through this AI wave, right? And the idea is that Gemini, ChatGPT, everyone is having so many releases so often, right? And the idea is that we're able to help them navigate through this and being able to be their companion and focus on how this can become a business outcome. And if we're able to do that, honestly, our clients in construction and other types of industries, they don't care what version are we using. They care that this creates that ROI that we're looking to create. Okay, so I think that our responsibility as Singular, as business consultant, becomes more important than ever, so that we're able to protect our clients from these phony interactions, from these interactions that don't add value, but help them navigate in how are we able to empower their employees, right, for them to be able to have more output.
Agree.
Charlie, you talked about employees. Sebastian, you talked about, the AI fatigue has maybe started, what we are seeing. But in the real world scenario, we see Amazon firing off 14,000 employees because of just they want to become an AI first company. We have, there is a example, a company fired all his employees and, you know, just integrated AI with the thought that, they'll save money or whatever it is. But then the founder realized that the sales were dropping massively because the clients were not happy. And then he had to just rehire those employees. With all these scenarios, the one question that is in the mind of every maybe developer, every person who is working in this corporate world, that do you think the jobs will survive? Do you think that there will going to be a massive layoffs in the coming years?
Thank you. That's a good question, and I think it's also a very controversial topic. I believe that you need to understand the role of people and agents, okay? And a lot of people say, hey, you can grab this agent that can replace this person. But then we have to understand what each person does. For me, a high agency individual, which is this new persona that all of us must evolve into, is going to be a person that has systems thinking and is going to be extremely analytical. And he's going to come back and say, okay, what are the tasks that I do every day that add value to the company? Which one of these tasks is repetitive, manual, and non-analytical to a high degree? That person will have to start using agents to replace those tasks. And he has to get back, once he automates everything, with the help of his own internal IT team, a team like Singular, or even himself. Obviously, we're talking about no code. Once he's able to do that, he needs to understand what are the core values that will make a high level agent, such as himself, be relevant in this world. And those are taste. It's going to be constructing business relationships that are based in trustworthiness. And it's going to be about how they operate with systems thinking that an AI agent will not be able to do. And why is that something that's very important? People do not only buy based on rational decision making. They buy based on emotional decision making. and a human impacts that capability directly. So we're going to start to see people that feel that their job is just to do a manual task. Those jobs are going to disappear. But the high agency individuals that are able to manage a little army or a battalion of AI agents to fulfill those manual tasks while they keep on adding value to the emotional aspect, the trustworthiness aspect of the business, we're going to start to see the productivity and the value of those employees skyrocket. So if I
Sebastian,
were to give an advice,
sorry,
yes?
sorry to you cut you in between. Maybe this could be an ideal scenario, but I don't think this is what currently happening. This is maybe you and some founders can think like that. Maybe not every company is thinking like that. If it would have been, there will not have been so many layoffs and the talk about layoffs. Charlie, your point of view on this?
Yeah. So I agree with right now, everyone has to look at their job, right? And see where they adding critical thinking, right? Because things that are not critical thinking right now, that's what it's going to start to disappear, right? And as before in the Industrial Revolution, right, there were jobs that changed form, right? This is going to happen again. And the idea is that you need to see how are we able to add value, add that trustworthiness, right? So that AI doesn't take over, right? We're pretty confident that we're able to to set a company or SMB for success, right, with AI, doing it in the proper channels, in the proper ways, with the proper security, so that AI doesn't start to hallucinate and you're not giving your information for free. And the idea is how this critical thinking can be exponentiated and your outcome can be 10x of what it is today. And I think that's what people have to be focusing on.
Talking about critical thinking, a world where now you see AI can think, AI can find the data, AI can do the research. Literally, AI can do everything now. How does one maintain his creativity? How does, one have that analytical thinking, keep moving? Do you guys agree that maybe people will become dumb sooner? Like, sorry to use that term, but yeah.
I agree 100% with your question. People are becoming too over reliant on AI and they are ignoring their intuition, which needs a lot of data processing and those creative skills. And that's making them completely dependent. And the problem is that even a semester ago, I think there were still AI agents that you would ask them the famous strawberry question about how many R's there were, and they got it wrong. You need to understand that AI is imperfect because it was designed by imperfect humans. And that part about reviewing the data and the conclusions and making yourself be the person that's driving the AI, that has to stay. And one must be very, very careful as to not lose touch with one's skills and abilities, depending completely on AI. One thing to close, AI does have a sycophant problem where it will validate a lot of what you say, even if it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
You need to be extremely careful of that.
Absolutely. You type a prompt and it says, glad, I love it, great idea. This is how it answers all your questions.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And Charlie, you were mentioning about, we have to be very mindful about what we are giving to AI, what are the personal informations we are sharing with it. As a company, how you guys maintain the privacy and when we build, even if we talk about no code, you see, there is a notion that it is not secure. When we talk about AI, it's not so secure. You don't know what is happening with your data. As a company, how you guys deal with it? Any tips, anything you would like to share?
Yeah, so Sebastian, do you want to tackle this one on security?
Sure. So as a user, we must understand that AI is extremely insecure. If you don't believe me, download our Atlas from ChatGPT.
Hmm.
Now, the first thing that it says is that you have to be very careful because this type of browser can inject obviously whatever prompt from any website you visit that does this maliciously into your ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can expose certain passwords or sensitive information back to the website. And ChatGPT shipped this saying we trust that users will be able to differentiate between this. And the reality is that most of them are not able to do this. AI is extremely insecure. The code it generates is not up to the best security practices and standards. And everything must be reviewed by. And we must live in this new AI world understanding that it is an incredibly dangerous artifact that we must manage with an extreme level of responsibility, both from the personal level to the business level, or even to the government level. So, as a practical advice to an SME, if you're putting in a chatbot that can basically understand all of the data, how you set permissions and how you protect certain information. So to quickly cap off the last response, AI is not yet at a place where it's secure, and users need to think about that from a business, government, and even personal standpoint. One must be extremely wary of any personal information or any actions that the agent can do on your behalf, because if you're not able to control it, that's extremely difficult. So one of the spaces that I really think is interesting when it comes to the VC world is anything related to customer security, both in the terms of data sensitivity to customer experience. Anything related to security, that's a very hot part right now.
Yeah, I think it also depends on users because I think there are certain things that as a company you can do, but then you are using a third party tool which has its own regulations and compliances, right? So and what they're saying is they always gives a disclaimer about you know how they're using your data, and so that's all. Um, it's about AI, but then we have no code tools also. Do you think those tools are secure when it comes to HIPAA compliance, GDPR regulations, and all these? Do you think these are something that these tools are something that people and clients should use?
That's a great question. So I think that the answer is in a case by case basis. But if you ask me, for example, about Airtable, Airtable is one of the best tools when it comes to the low code space. We definitely consider it that way, especially for the SME market. And Airtable gives you built out of the box HIPAA compliance and SOC 2 compliance. And that's something that's very important for a young entrepreneur, a young SMB to come into their clients or their stakeholders and say, hey, we chose a tool that gives us these standards and best practices. Obviously, they tend to be a bit more pricier, but if security and privacy are a big component of your value proposition, I'd recommend going with that. I know that Glide Apps is extremely, extremely strong in this part. And when it comes to Flutterflow, as you know, with Flutterflow, it gives you the versatility to be able to choose whatever backend you want to give it. Supabase is extremely, extremely strong. And I know that everything you can do in terms of Google Cloud and Amazon gives you that security, but it's a bit more complex. So users must think whenever they're using a no-code tool and read this, there are tools that have it outside the box and the others you can configure it for the most part, but it's a case-by-case answer.
Okay. Well said. I think it depends on tools, what you meant. Every tool and every platform gives you different kind of security, I feel. So that's there. Charlie, coming to you, what is the biggest mistake you see or, as in company, which are, talking about AI and no code, these companies do? And like, have you seen anything from your past experience that you would like to share?
Yes, I think the biggest mistake that enterprise or SMBs can do is wait for a big bang, right? Let's say we're going to start implementing, we're not going to test it with users, we're going to build for 12 months this silver bullet, right? And when we go to market in 12 months, it's going to be exactly what the user needs. I think that's the biggest mistake, and that's the biggest trap inside of all of software, right? I think being agile and being quick to market and being able to test as early as possible is critical for internal applications and B2C applications, right? Because what you're thinking to build right now, in 12 months, there's going to be a different paradigm and you need to be able to adapt to that, right? So if you're building that big bang, you're not going to be successful. But the idea is that you're doing this with quick iterations, with 2-week or 4-week sprints, right? That you're able to test out with real users. I think that's critical, right?
You guys must have, get a lot of customers and, the clients. Usually what happens with the clients, they are very rigid on what kind of product they want. They are not okay with, um, even if it's something less perfect, and they don't understand there is now no such platform as perfect. Do you think that that leads to a failure of a product when the founder is too rigid on it?
Yes, definitely. And it's one of the biggest things to be worried about. Now, it's important for a founder or an SMB or a business to have conviction of the value that they want to offer. But we need to understand as a team that when you're building products, you're building it so that other users can use it. And they are a key aspect of this formula. So if a user comes to us and says, hey, this is the market problem, these are the users, I created this prototype, it's version number 5 of the prototype based on feedback, and the feedback is giving us insights as to this is what we have to build. That's great. We work with you on that. We challenge the way that the tests were made, but we trust you on that data and we help you build out that product. And we'll test it once again, and hopefully it has a lot of different iterations to test it on. But users must be, or founders or SMBs must be open to experimentation, and they must be open to pivoting and being agile, because this is the main part. This is the biggest secret that gives you success. And it's important to understand that as of right now, MIT published a report saying that 95% of enterprise AI pilot projects failed. That means that out of every 20 projects, one was successful. In the startup world, the numbers are even worse. In order for you to have a fighting chance to have success and ROI with whatever you're doing, experimentation, agility, and making sure that you're running loops with customers involved is the most important thing. You must choose a partner that enables that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Um, when we're talking about, businesses, do you think AI will make it easier or harder to be an entrepreneur in the next coming 5 years?
I think that right now, as we've discussed before, there is a boom where a lot of companies are getting funded by just adding built with AI or AI incorporated. But the biggest thing that we must understand is that venture capital is drying up and it's concentrating on the big players such as Oracle, ChatGPT, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the problem with that is that every VC dollar coming out is a lot more competitive for founders. And number two, the costs associated with AI are about to skyrocket. So if you look at the numbers, the return on investment on AI has not happened yet. And right now, the main play is how do we get everyone on earth to benefit from AI? Once we are past that stage of initial adoption, these companies need to start raising prices. So going back to what you said, Jyoti, about ChatGPT and Amazon investing in ChatGPT, and they will give them GPUs, etc.
Yeah.
At a certain point, there will be a reckoning, and investors behind this will start to say, we need to start making money off of AI. If your product depends completely on a pricing method that is sensitive to this, your product or service is about to get a lot more expensive. So you need to make sure that the value is there and that you're using variable volume pricing.
That
This
makes
is something
sense.
critical.
Yeah.
This is going to be something critical. Thank you, Jyoti.
No, I agree with you. That makes sense. And in a world where everyone is now coming and jumping into AI, I think it has become a little difficult for the VCs also to, pick um, the right product. And maybe the cloning has become more easy of Go products because we see a lot of similar applications going out live. And it's hard which one will, take an edge. Maybe marketing is going to be the one thing that will define those products, if that will survive or not. What do you think, Charlie? Do you think that maybe if sometimes what happens is there are similar products that are there in the market, but one product is something which people really know about and people use, but the others are maybe as good as it is, but people don't really about. Do you think marketing um, and sales plays a crucial role in this?
Yes, definitely. And I want to tack on the trustworthiness rate because sometimes even VCs are reviewing applicants with AI, most of them, right? So
Yeah.
basically, you are in a complete wheel of AI, right? And the idea is sales and marketing and trying to create that personalization, right, is critical right now. How are companies and startups talking to real humans, right? And how are we able to create that differentiation, right? Companies and VCs invest in the founder and the team, right, more than in the specific technology right now. So the idea is you need to invest right now in yourself. You need to invest in yourself and how are you able to pivot through this AI wave, right? And how are you able to be on top of it, right? And surf it as best as possible, okay?
Yeah. Um,
If I can piggyback on that,
sure.
Jyoti, there has always been that discussion about if you build it, they will come. I don't think it's that way. I think that the table stakes have been raised. You need to build a premium product, but distribution is going to be critical. And distribution is sales and marketing, basically, and how you get it into as many customer hands as possible. Going back to what I said before, authenticity, being human and tapping into the emotional values is going to be more important than ever. And if you think about AI, it's a probabilistic engine that helps you drive what is the most likely answer. If you want to differentiate yourself, go back to the napkin, go back to the pen and paper, go back to the whiteboard and think and go back to authenticity that makes us human. I think that that's what's going to connect more in the distribution side more than using AI. Now, obviously, AI can generate video, campaign slogans, whatever, but make sure there is a very important human component to that. Okay.
Um, so I would like to add 2 points to it. So one is, when we are talking about sales and everything, no VC invest without, they say pre-seed funding, but pre-seed funding also you need to have, some kind of revenue that, or they'll not bet on your product. That's for sure. Majority of the products that, VCs invest in, they see if they are giving a revenue, they're generating a revenue already, and they have significant number of users. If they are not, there is a most probably higher chances that they're not going to invest in it. And then when you talked about Sebastian, regarding going back to napkin and notepads and being inculcating emotions, do you think that because there has been a certain notion that maybe what the new models of chat GPTs and AIs are being made, these are being claimed that they'll have a hold of emotions that will be inculcated to these products? Do you think it's that possible?
Yes, for sure. So one of the things that we're going to start to see is in ChatGPT agents is emotional empathy. They're not just going to read the words that you say, but they're actually going to be able to understand your face gestures, the tone of voice, and any sudden change. Because as humans, we understand body language and we understand verbal cues. They're all already models that understand this, and we're going to start to see ChatGPT making the most use of this so that they can answer you in the most human way possible. And they will improve that quite a lot. And in the next 10 years, it'll be just as similar to a human. But as of right now, that gap represents an opportunity. And it's important to understand that.
Why I am asking this question? Because there has been a study where it has been found that X percentage of people are talking to ChatGPT not about their technical questions, but about their personal stuff, and mostly Gen Zs, what they are going through, maybe if they're facing any issue, um, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and all these things are being shared. And so, do you think that ChatGPT has become a kind of a friend to them, and it will be like this, and maybe the humans will become lonelier and lonelier, the interactions will among humans will be reduced? Your guys' take on this, if anyone want to talk about it?
Sure. So I think it's very important to go back to the foundation of technology. Technology is supposed to make lives better, starting first and foremost with making work more efficient, so that hopefully we can get back to doing what we love. And personal connection, I think, is a big part of any person's mental health, right? And the new wave of technology is very isolating, and it's very content consumption focused. Now, every study that we've seen regarding social media, or the ones I've seen so far, have led that there are benefits, but there are also a lot of disadvantages to it. And we're at a point where anxiety and depression are at an all-time high.
Yeah.
If you think of the Vision Pro and the Meta Quest 3 headset, for example, they are technologies that isolate you. I fear that if people do not rein in the way that they use and behave with technology, isolation, anxiety, and depression will become worse. So it's very, very important to use technology to make work more efficient. So after 5, you can go back to the people and places that give you peace and that energy that every one of us needs.
What's your take, Charlie, on this? Do you agree with what Sebastian's saying? Do you think we are heading towards this lonelier Chat GPT AI world, or do you think this is not something which is possible? Maybe for this is something which is happening for time being, and then nobody's gonna have like be like this in future.
I think there is already a lot of solitude in the world, right? And people, you can see people are more aggressive in social media and everything, right? And the people are trying to listening to everything, right? So I think that is closer than we already believe, right? I think that social media has impacted that a lot. Gaming, that you do not need to leave your house in order to fulfill
Yeah.
most of those. So I try to tell every person I talk to, right, to go out, to remember the real world interactions, right, and have those. And but I definitely think that there is a great place for technology in here, right? Especially, we're really proud about a couple of clients that are helping people in this state of mind, right? And being able to help them out and be that relief, right? And being able to contact the proper authorities when the relief is not enough, right? And they need something else, and we're able to help. Okay, so definitely think it's a really important problem that we're tackling right now, and I think it's not of the future. I think it's right now upon us. Okay.
Yeah, I think people have to be cautious about how much they're using. It's like, people being addicted to phones, but then results come that, you have to see the outside world to be, or maybe you can go in certain depression, anxiety, and, um, when we were children, we used to read Technology Boon Bane, right? So I think sort of that kind of thing is there. Um, One or two questions more I'm going to ask you, and then we'll wrap up. Um, One question is, you do you think we'll reach a point where AI teammates will become more common? Maybe startups being run by just 2 or 3 people with, a full AI workforce. Because Sebastian, when we were talking, also you said that you need to evaluate your certain tasks, and then you need to automate those tasks if they don't involve certain critical thinking, or there are monotonous tasks that need to be done. Do you think that, but those tasks are usually done by humans right now, right? So you think in future there is a possibility that AI teammates will be your colleague, and the human workforce will be less?
I think there is no question that that is going to start happening. One of the things we do at Singular is that we evaluate every month based on trustworthiness. How is our team performing? And the interesting thing is that it's an agent that has the task of understanding all of the context that we provide via call recording, and it goes to people one by one, and it asks them, "Hey, hi Jyoti, how are you? You have these 3 pending evaluations. I want to help you do it, and I want to give you this example based on the meetings you had." It's kind of surreal, but at the same time, it's incredibly powerful because as humans, we have a limited amount of a lot of things, but in this case, memory. And with so many meetings, so many projects, it's easy to forget about little details. AI doesn't. And we're talking to a person that has insight into every detail that was mentioned in a work meeting 3 weeks ago. That becomes very powerful. So I'm pretty sure that number one, you're going to start to see AI employees or agents. And on the other hand, I think it's very, very possible that soon, across the next 5 years, we're going to start listening about the first single person unicorn in the industry that's going to create a piece of tech fulfilled by an army of agents that's going to be extremely powerful.
We'll have to wait and see what the future holds. But yeah, seems like what you're saying is true. Maybe in future maybe we will be working for AI. I'm not sure.
For
That can
sure,
be
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, now my last question to you guys is I want you both to give one piece of advice to the budding founders, who have started their journey. Sometimes what happens, you start a journey, but then it gets too lonely. You both are 2 people, right? But then there's certain founders who manage everything alone. They just start. There is no funding. They're running out of money. They're bidding on the product. For those people, one piece of advice that um, you would like to give, or to the people who are running a agency or a company?
Charlie, you can go first.
Yeah, so basically, my advice to everyone out there, right, is to right now see AI as a tool, right? Because we're entering this era of augmented performance, right? And to saying how I'm able to have more outcome, more output, and how ROI into everything that I do. And my advice is to always feel that critical thinking into every task, every interaction that you're having with AI, and questioning if it's the correct one. Because it's easy to become lazy, right? And to be able to let AI do everything. And the idea is surround yourself by the people who will help you leverage this as a tool and augment the performance of each and everyone in your team so that you're able to have those performance. Okay. So in essence, right, I think that we're really confident on how the value of this can help startups and mid-market companies, right, to be able to achieve their business objectives, right, and to be able to test early and often so that you're able to find the true value of what you're looking to build.
Jyoti,
That's some great
my take
advice.
on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. My take on this is that most fortunes are made when there is a change in the market so big as this one. And I really think that this is the biggest change that has happened. I really want to empower people. Going back to my initial take on leaving the bank, which was a huge titan of a company,
Mm.
AI enables SMBs and startups to be the David and AI is the Goliath. If you're able to leverage this and use it to create value within your company and ultimately translate that value over to the customers, that means that you can grow exponentially. Right now is the best time to invest. And in order for you to invest correctly, there are a lot of partners that can help you out, brilliant partners. Try to get people, if you're not so talented in the AI space, to come in and help you. I'm pretty sure that this will be the ultimate advantage for SMBs, and this will create the new mid-market that's going to be driven by not just AI, but a lot of customer empathy. If you're able to do that, there is a lot of success to be found.
That's some Great advice, you guys. Um, one more thing, I think Kazuki was mentioning about some workshop that is happening in the coming November. Would you like to talk about it?
Charlie?
Yes, of course. So basically, we're having this really cool webinar, right, with the Vercel Chief of Software, right? Vercel is pushing the limits of what technology can do for startups and companies, right? And we're really excited about the conversation that we're going to have on Friday, 21st of January of November. And please join us, right? It's going to be really interesting to hear what not only Vercel has right now for you to be able to accelerate to market, but what's coming into the future, right? I think his vision will be really important so that people are able um to prepare for what's coming next, okay?
And Charlie, how
And
can people join? Sorry, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so we're going to be sending an invitation with this podcast, right? That will be connected to a forum that you will be able to subscribe and basically save the time and date in your calendar, okay?
Okay,
yeah.
great. That's best.
But just to piggyback on Charlie, there is a workshop that we're opening to your listeners. If anyone's interested, they will receive credits so that we can help them out financially. And the idea is to help give everyone a roadmap, leveraging the most of their assets and making sure that they're building a solid foundation when it comes to AI. And we're very excited to help your listeners with this workshop.
That's great, guys. You need to join in and hop in because you're going to get free credits and you're going to really learn something. One more thing, guys. If anyone wants to reach out to Singular Innovation, how can they do that?
So you go into our website, singularagency.co, and you schedule a time, right? And we're really happy to be able to have a conversation, okay? It's as simple as that, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Sebastian and Charlie. This was such an insightful conversation. I feel about the intersection of AI, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Wishing the entire Singular Innovation team continued success. Yeah, thank you. That was really great.
Thank you, Jyoti,
Thank
and
you.
we'll be avid followers of your podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.